prior to me saying, hey, we're going to take a detour, publisher who I'm meeting in person for the first time, I need to go to my hotel because I've ripped open my pants due to enthusiastic interviewing. And he waited in the lobby. That was our first time meeting each other, ever in person.
You've already
signed
the deal?
Was my publisher waiting in my lobby because I busted my pants so I had to use tape to repair it.
Like, they've already signed the deal.
If they didn't already know I was a mess, that's on them. I make it very clear in my online communications.
So Xalavier, hold with me 1 second. We had a technical hiccup there. It's basically the pants-ripping story ripped Twitch for a brief second. So,
damn.
Yeah, so come on back, friends. But yeah, like... okay, so whilst we're waiting for everybody to get back, so as an aside to an aside, I will say that had this year not been as terrible financially for people, I just want you to know there was a scheme in place to do a sponsored takeover of the GDC Denny's.
There was?
I need you to know that if a couple of games, naming no names in case they decide to do it, if a couple of games had sold better and if 2023 hadn't been so shitey for like a myriad of reasons, we worked out that while you can't buy advertising space, you can do a charity takeover, and that allows you to put branding up.
What hope?
Oh, damn. I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's prime advertising space, too, because it's right across from Yerba Buena, from Moscone. You could really clean up taking over. How much does that cost, theoretically, if someone was interested in it, which I'm not?
I'll have to tell you off stream, but I need you to know that is one of the great things that 2024 robbed of us, was the Xalavier Denny's experience.
That's beautiful. That's terrifying but beautiful. I will say I didn't end up going to Denny's once. I was so busy chatting to people and doing businessman business things and giving speeches that I did not once manage to go inside of a Denny's. So I've been told the curse may be lifted. I've been told by people from other countries that a renewed fervor has come upon them to make sure that I end up in a Denny's. This injustice will not be unaddressed. I'm scared, Will.
It is better to be... I don't know. It's better to be the football than the goal? I don't know.
I don't know if that's true.
Eric wouldn't let me go to Denny's when I was drunk on Monday night, so I'm still mad at him for that. Like, not even for the bit. Yeah, alright, Vonus and everybody who's joined us, that was the best I could come up with, alright? Also, Scotty and everybody, thank you for the resubs and whatnot. I just, I don't know what that technical hiccup was, but to those of you who have just joined us, we've got Xalavier on the line, and we're doing GDC stories. And after you, we've got Damien. So we've had a fucking lineup today. It's been awesome.
Heck yeah. The Damien chat in particular should be really fun.
Oh, hell yeah. God, there were so many things came out of this one. So like you mentioned the Larian speech, like we haven't really talked about that one, but the thing you were saying about like the cost of laying people off and the drain. One of the things that Larian has said is that they will not be doing any DLC for Baldur's Gate, and they won't be doing Baldur's Gate 4. And that is a smart business move. But I would bet dollars to donuts that Hasbro cleaning out their team that helped make that deal happen definitely destroyed any faith Larian would have had in signing another deal. And, that's absolutely a smart move. But I bring this up because that's what it's cost Hasbro, There's two really interesting things here. Not making a Baldur's Gate 4 allows them to avoid the Mass Effect 3 problem. Yes. Which
is, you've made a game with all of the choice in the world. How do you then tie up those threads without a combinatorial explosion which cannot be shipped in a human lifetime?
Yep.
The answer is you don't make a sequel to that game. Much like how Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't look back at every choice made in Baldur's Gate 2 and let you import your save. In this case, the one-off is something that greatly helps both make that game more feasible, as well as in a lot of ways give them a lot more creative freedom. So what you're seeing, one, is they managed to neatly dodge how do you follow up one of the most beloved RPGs of all time and continuous plot lines which can go in wildly divergent directions. Number two, from a business perspective, it's objectively... I can see why certain people are confused that they wouldn't just make Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 4. Baldur's Gate 3 sold so much. But also, there's tens of millions of people who know Larian's name now and know it as a seal of quality.
Yep.
And giving Hasbro a portion of every sale when people are following you. And before this, the Baldur's Gate name was not selling gangbusters copies. It's always been respected. It has always, I think, sold quietly and respectably.
Yeah.
But the new collections, for example, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on Steam, were not top in sales charts. They did something new. Yeah. Something new with a legacy brand that was dormant. So from every business perspective, them taking that audience and taking them to the next world, one where they don't owe anyone any money, is from a business perspective and from a design perspective, I think they're making the right call. And I'm surprised, given especially how Larian makes things, that anyone would be like, well, why don't they just make both? Or why don't they just do Baldur's Gate 3 DLC? On top of the fact that they no longer have the crew that helped them ship.
Yes. So it was really interesting seeing that one, and it was a wonderful speech. The thing that strikes me is how during the Game Awards, how like even Larian and Peeps weren't really given the time to talk, despite winning like the grand prize, and that comparable to this. We talked about it earlier, and like. I think it was Swan Dragon that mentioned, like, the calls for solidarity, the calls for ceasefire, the calls to change our industry throughout GDC were brilliant. And again, two of your speeches have been predominant in that conversation. And it's so drastically different than the sanitized Keeley circus that we had during the winter.
I respect what Keeley does, and I understand the reasons, again, from a business perspective, why he does it.
Oh, yeah, no.
But... I will say we got to hear a lot more of developers' voices after the show than during the show, and one would hope, given that the show has continued to be iterated on and will continue to be iterated on, that in the coming years we will see more space made.
Yeah. Okay, so were there any surprise moments aside from busting your booty out? That stood out from this GDC?
Surprise moments. I was surprised by the amount of hope. DICE, which for those who are not familiar, is a prominent biz dev conference that occurs in February in Las Vegas every year.
Yeah.
The vibes coming from DICE were grim, so for the mood of GDC to be hopeful and defiant and to surface developer voices in a healthy way, I'm stunned. I'm excited about what that might mean for the future.
That's really
Oh, you were saying?
No, just I'm really happy to hear that. Like,
it's not going to be. I don't think the future is easy, but I don't think. I have a renewed faith that people are not giving up on the future.
That's wonderful to hear. Because one of the reasons why I wanted to do this today as a phone-in show, if you will, is because like my perspective on this GDC was obviously very positive, but that's because I just wanted to see you and see everybody and be part of this lovely big dysfunctional family. It didn't feel like 1,000 people adrift. it felt like, us standing together against the tide. But I realised that as I become more and more entrenched in the games industry, my perspective gets more and more specialised. So it's lovely to hear from your perspective, because you see a large swath that most of us don't.
Yeah, I think that there's... I think that the number one thing I would say at this point is that players can and will be part of the thing that pushes for positive change. Having players recognize the patterns they're seeing, and say things can and should be better, so that we can get better video games, and starting to ask questions and recognize the names of game engines and the names of game executives and factors, and saying, outside of purely reactionary terms, or as we've discussed on previous times that appear on Longship, like asking with knowledge, with an increased knowledge of the medium, much like you see in film or literature. This is what I want to see, and these are the obstacles that change here. It isn't because a lazy dev did this, it's because they were forced to do this by this person on this unrealistic timeline. Breakthroughs like that, and players really using their voices to say, give us better development conditions so we can get the games that we deserve, so that we can stop being deprived of choice like we are right now, in favor of the next big mega game bet, which may be canceled midway through, which means $60 million goes down the toilet, having resulted in nothing that ships. That's going to change the future. And so I'm encouraged by that, and I am excited to see the Longship be one of those those vessels carrying those voices to say, if you keep making fucked up game processes, we're going to keep getting fucked games, and we would prefer not to have that. Thank you.
It would be lovely if we didn't have that. And, I will continue to arm them with the knowledge as we move forward. Though I'm doing my best to not make the Longship just like a hidden ninja village. I'm hoping that I can get this info out there better. But
I mean, there's nothing with the hidden ninja village either. Ninja Vikings are a historically feared threat that has been studied by societies throughout history, and if you have just a bunch of Ninja Vikings doing their thing, let me tell you, you will either be forced to work with them to change the future, or you will be executed as the dissenter that you are for wielding alongside your community too much power. The Ninja Vikings are here, and we aren't going to stand for it.
You either lift with us or fall beneath us. All right. So Xalavier, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add before we roll on forward. Oh, and Bacon, thank you kindly.
I'm okay with the hidden village in concept. Just not the separate two-finger
Wishless Life Eater, and I don't know. Look at an image that brings you joy today. Let it be. If it's a funny little frog, if it's a picture of a game that's brought you joy, my challenge for the people today, look at a picture for 10 seconds and feel just a degree of contentment. Let me tell you, it'll help your perspective.
Way cool. Oh, yeah, no.
A little bit of quiet in the middle of all the yelling.
I think that's a lovely idea. Oh, and the only thing I was going to ask is, at some point, if you have the ability and the interest to join us for a GDC of Thieves, for a Sea of Thieves one Friday, I still want to steal you for some rampant nautical violence.
I am not a Sea of Thieves guy, but if other games are considered, such as a Helldiver, I'm there. I'm there with bells on.
Okay. Well, there is one that I might pitch you in the future called Abiotic Reactor, which is...
I've seen that.
Yo, we binged the demo at Christmas, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
It has Half-Life 1 character models doing survival adventures with repurposed office equipment.
Right.
There's not a game that could be more me unless I literally made it.
And you got to save some game for everybody else.
Just a little bit. I'm upset they got there before me, but I respect the power.
I mean, in their defense, it's the same team who did Unfortunate Spachumen, so... sorry, Unfortunate Spaceman. I keep doing the fucking Unfortunate Spachumen bit. But yeah, so let me just grab... is that not... let me just grab the link for Life Eater and give that a wish list, my friends. Right. So Xalavier, thank you so much for joining us for a natter. Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Dude.
It's a pleasure as always.
And, like, you and a lot of other industry friendos, again, it's just, I'm so happy to see you doing well. And I know that means that I don't get to hang with you as much at GDC, but I'm okay with that, you know?
That just means that we have more time to hang out at PAX West.
Fuck yes! But I
pleasure as always. You take care, folks. Take care, Longship. Bye!
Okay, bye! Look at us being consummate professionals. Right, so once again, please wish the Life Eater coming out April 16th. So, let me see where it's downloaded. I just need to... boop. I just need to send an invite to Damien. And I did download the video of the GD Scream for you all. So, let me get that ready and set up. Because I do have... Oh, shush. I do have Steve's permission to play this. So, before we have Damien on, so this was the thing we mentioned earlier. This was the GDC Scream, organized by a myriad of different, you know, indie and ex-AAA people, and very much, you know, there was little talks before and after about, like, you know, unionize now, come together. Forgive me if I look haggard. That's my first coffee of the day in my hand. But there was a wonderful catharsis of this, and like, I'm really happy I get to share this with you all. Hang on, I'll mute my dumbass. So yeah, this was the GDC Scream.
All right, so apparently
and that's Steve.
They're going to do a giant communal scream or something like that, because why not?
It's cathartic.
Yeah,
We've all gone through a lot in the games industry this year.
Ah, got it. Oh, wow. The tolling of the bell.
Yeah.
No one knows how cool we are.
That was the GD Scream.
I tell myself that every morning. Nobody knows how cool I am.
Ah, lovely, lovely. Storm Hughes, yeah, that was, if you didn't know it was happening, a lot of people got caught off guard. And the irony, of course, being is that the metal GDC fan meet was held up in roughly the same space. Though once again, we do need to talk about this. Whoever is organising the metalheads, as in like metal music fan meet at GDC, stop putting the metalheads in direct sunlight. They burst into flames. So we're going to have Damien Crawford with us in a bit, but I just want to say some hello. So like Storm Hughes, everybody who came in from like Xalavier's feed and whatnot. Lovely to make your acquaintance. I'm Will. I got back from GDC. I had a great time. I got stories. It's been a good day. But one of the reasons I've been doing this today, and thank you for the follow, is because I didn't get a great perspective on all facets of GDC, so I've been inviting people to come on in and have a natter. I think Damien's probably going to be our last guest of the day. And yes, Krill, you did hear a wargarble in there. I was doing more of a kamehameha, like ha. Not quite a Colossus shout, but in a similar vein. Hello, baby boy. Yes, hello. I came home to you and you're a sleepy boy. So the wee baby Amos. The wee baby Amos. We will like it. It's weird, doesn't like being on camera. Okay, so without further ado, let's bring on our last guest of the afternoon. Damien, Watto, and welcome. Hello, hello.
Hello. Lovely to chat.
So for those of you who are new here and may not have met, so Damien is an independent game developer. Damien breaks your brain with JRPG mechanics and golf moves.
Yeah, if you are a bad enough dude and are into playing golf, boy, do I have a treat for you coming April 1st, because I have golf.
What game would you like me to link to these lovely Mother Hubbards?
Just cannibalinteractive.itch.io works, because that sends them to all the things.
Okay, I'm just getting them the link now. Okay, so friends, this is the back cat of Damien's games, and while they are available on Steam, if possible, please grab them on itch, because
All systems nominal.
that's where Damien will get the most amount of money
Lucky
to
number
live.
7.
And also, only if there's 6 games that are on Steam, but there's like 25 or 30 on itch, along with my weird tabletop games like Guilty Pleasure, a game where instead of rolling dice, you file paperwork.
Actually, we haven't streamed Night Shift at Pops, and I just realized that, so I'm a bad friend.
No, you're not. Like, that's also one that is to a particular taste. So,
okay, so your GDC was very different than everybody else we've had on so far today. So, like, how was your experience?
Pretty decent. It was my 6th GDC, and my first time being a speaker. I spoke on the Wednesday afternoon for the IGDA Neurodivergent in Games SIG for I did a roundtable.
Okay.
So that was my first public speaking that was in person in a very long time. So, yeah. But overall, the event was good for sure.
Because you were pitching at this GDC, which
Sort of. I had a demo for Damien Crawford's Golf Experience 2024, which I showed that off at a party on Tuesday night,
okay.
which went weirdly well. This one's slightly different just because the pars actually make some amount of sense.
Okay.
The game feels closer. Like you could actually do better each time, even though RNG is still a nightmare. But yeah, there were a few people who played the demo. A couple of them sort of bounced off of it, but most of them actually liked it. And there was even one person who played actual golf and was like, I like how sincere this is to the golf experience. And I was like, well, there you go. Now you get it. You understand.
Okay.
So I was happy about that. But yeah, I don't go to pitch to publishers so much as I was there like talking about what I'm working on, and just seeing what everybody else was up to. So yeah, mostly socializing, which is nice. I knew some people who were there trying to get actual publishing deals or get hired because, you know, a lot of people lost their jobs and a lot of people are trying to get back in, or, you know, students trying to get into whatever positions. So not being in those shoes was terrific.
Yes, I
and,
know I said
and
this.
definitely my sensitivities to all the people who were in that position.
Yeah, I know I said this at the beginning of the show, but it wasn't imposter syndrome. It felt like survivor's guilt, you know, being able to do this with these bloody Mother Hubbards and them keeping me alive. And showing off Cosmic Crowbar, the amount of times I'd be like, and we're not looking for funding, and people's body language would just change, you know. One friend who shall remain nameless just because they're in that sphere and I don't want them to get bombarded by a bajillion emails, but like when I told them like, and we're not looking for funding, I could see them visibly relax. like they were braced to be pitched for some project. And hell, as I said at the beginning of the show, people pitched to me at GDC as if I was someone who could get the money. It was so weird. I don't know if you had any of that experience.
No, people get the vibe real early on that I am not somebody with what people call money.
You look like your general GDC vibe is the Doctor Who show that had to get pulled because it was a bit too real. Sorry, for those of you that haven't met Damien IRL, blue trench coat and the hottest pink hat, like a big brimmed sun hat.
Yeah, it was a fishing hat that has a nice brim to it. This was the first year I did that, and it's also the first year that I don't have terrible sunburns on like my scalp or face or anything. So the sun hat's absolutely making a comeback. Yeah. That was fantastic. But yeah, I very much look like a wizard or witch or some other form of spellcaster that you're not familiar with.
Right. I do think at some point, rather than because I know I said disaster indies in the past, but I do think basically we formed just like a cabal of, you know, arcane devs. You know, I'm very much in the druidic circles.
Right.
And you definitely look like you studied the kind of arcana that drives people mad and just shrugged it off.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the sort of thing where I went down into the depths of madness for so long that I got bored with being mad, and I have climbed out the other side of it, and I'm here to dispense atrocious wisdoms.
As an aside to an aside, I'm still mad that I couldn't buy the t-shirt for GDC that it's a picture of a wizard and it says, I learned from the mistakes of people that take my advice. I really want to wear that.
I did not see that one, but that's very good.
But yeah, so what was your sense of the vibes from this GDC?
It started off difficult. Like I spend most of my GDC in the park. Also, I'll preface this with, I never actually made it to the expo floor. So this is my first time. I did not make it there. I was in the park. Monday there was like, hotel stuff I had to take care of. Tuesday and Wednesday were actually busy days. And Thursday and Friday, I could have gone, but I kept running into people, or, people want to get a bite to eat. And I'm like, well, it's not a priority to go there. So F it. All right. But started off tough. Especially the moment where Monday afternoon, like 3 p.m. or so, a couple people were setting up tables in the park. And I heard that this is supposed to be some sort of publisher-developer meetup. And I was like, oh, okay, let's see how this plays out. All developers, 0 publishers.
Yes, that was the boba, the free boba meet. Now
the thing that was supposed to be. And they ended up having LaCroix, which I know different people have different opinions of that beverage. Not big on that.
It's not a sweet treat, free of charge. It's water with an accent.
Yes, it's water that bites back. And so that was sort of the start, and it was a bit awkward. But then things got sort of settled into. People got used to being in person, and pitching and having some things actually turn out well for them. Also, there are a fair few parties that actually just straight up happened on Tuesday instead of everything being on Wednesday.
Which I was very grateful for, but...
yeah.
Also, like, because usually it's like Thursday and Wednesday is like,
yes,
brace yourself, Bessie. We're going in.
And this time there were actually some things that happened on Tuesday. So people were able to have... there were some people for the drinks and some people there for the food, but, things at least, like, got moving a little bit sooner for people. But also, yeah, just a bunch of different showcases that people were involved in, and it's sort of... I don't know, it started off looking rough, but by the end of it, things really seemed hopeful.
That's way cool. That's, like, I didn't want to put, like, words in anybody's mouth, but, like, that seems to be the overall vibe, and... it was really interesting hearing Xalavier saying that, like, DICE was basically a misery slog, and GDC was hopeful. Like, that really, I don't know, I got a similar vibe from it, because, I saw the same thing you did, which was the publisher meet with no publishers, Shark Tank sans the sharks, which is good for me, but you know what I'm saying. But
right.
I genuinely came away from it feeling like, we're gonna do this. We're going to survive till 25. So it's lovely to hear the sentiment echoed.
Right.
Were there any surprising moments from your GDC?
People's response to my demo and people's response to the roundtable I did were actually pretty surprising, because I'm used to people expecting... How do I phrase it? There's a lot of people that look at my games and consider it performance art, where I am still trying to do the same thing everybody else is, which is making games.
Yeah.
And I didn't run into anybody who was familiar with my work but not familiar with me. Either if they knew my work, they knew who I was, and if they didn't know it, then they didn't have any preconceived notions.
Okay.
Which was pretty much everybody that played my demo. So it was cool to see these people expecting a game and getting a game, but not a frictionless experience. Playing a golf game where you have to figure out where things are and how things work, which was neat. It was good to have that sort of validation of my designs. And then there was also the roundtable, which I am a very antisocial person. I'm very introverted. Like,
why do you hang out with me? That's like...
No, well, okay, you can do a lot of the talking, right? Like, if I have somebody else in a space, I can go, great. I can sort of backpack off of them. They can do a lot of the talking, and when there's the call and response part, I can just respond and we can move on.
I could be the Luke Skywalker to your Yoda on my back.
Yeah, right. Like whenever I end up in a gig room with like Tiffany or Hunter, it's great because they can do so much talking for me, and I'm like, terrific, because you guys are a lot better at this than I am. God. Me, I have to put on the whole social mask and figure out like how do I communicate with people I don't know. And yeah, that's basically how the roundtable went. Was there were still a couple people from the group, the IGDA group I'm a part of.
Yeah.
And so it was good to have them around to support, take the mic and move it around sometimes, or taking notes on the whole thing, because I was spending so much time just trying to like make sure I was dealing with situations appropriately. Like like how the roundtable works, for everybody that doesn't know, is that there are a bunch of square tables where everybody is facing inward into the room. So there's about 100 chairs.
Yeah.
And I am in the center of the room, so I am omnidirectionally perceived. And
Damien.
yeah, and as somebody who's a little bit paranoid, not great, not a great situation for me, not a fan, but we have to deal with these things. And so starting off was a little bit tough.
Yeah.
But people were pretty cool. And then like the third person in, well, okay, so actually how I started off was a few icebreaker questions and talking about, because my big thing was this is an advocacy track talk, which means I was expecting probably a lot of students with expo passes because this was a talk they could actually attend.
Okay.
And so I asked, who's new to the industry, just graduated from school or haven't worked in it or whatever.
Yeah.
20% of the people's hands go up. And I'm like, oh, that's surprising. How about 5 years plus? Half the room's hands go up. I'm like, oh, okay. So let's bump this question up. How about people talk about their experiences? And so the first couple were good, talking about being neurodivergent in the industry and how that's a difficulty and what sorts of changes we would like to see. And this one guy comes up and he just, it's like borderline trauma dumping. Like he's sort of getting too into it in too much detail, and it's like the whole energy of the room starts to change a little bit. Like you feel it get a little colder. And I'm like, okay, so I try and like summarize what he's trying to say. Like, okay, so this is what you're really saying is this is the problem and this is what you would like to see. And he's like, yes, and he keeps going.
Oh
no! Okay, so what you really mean is this. And he's like, yes, and I'm like, and I take the mic and I'm like, thank you for your time and for your experience. Let's go to this person, and then we're moving on to the next question. Because I was like, I have to. This is what they warned me about. I had a meeting beforehand about how the roundtables go and what to expect, and this was like the big thing that you have to try and avoid and deal with.
Yeah,
there's going to be at least one person.
There's always one. I mean, I've always called them mic gremlins, but there's always one that, like, once they have that mic, oh boy, you've got to pry them off, otherwise they're not going to stop. And the other is, of course, like, for an advocacy talk about, very personal topics, the chances of a trauma dump are quite high. And you can't do what is it the McElroys do? It's like no bummers or something. You can't be like, all right, we're going to talk about how how this genuinely impacts us and how we feel in the industry, but don't make it sad.
Right. And like it's also difficult because I know when I talk, I have to pause a lot. I have to think about the things that I'm saying. And there's a lot of people who also had that similar deal where it's like, I need to move the discussion along, but I don't want anybody to feel like they can't talk.
Yeah.
So there were a few people I had to like help summarize their thoughts, or they were having trouble thinking of the thing, which I understand, but like by that point I had shifted into presenter mode. Like once I dealt with that one guy, I was good throughout the rest of it because I was like, okay, I've found my rhythm. I've found the being personal and personable in front of others, presenter Damien, and they're just gonna handle the rest of this situation, no problem. So it was good after that. And I had a few people like come up randomly throughout the conference who were like, oh hey, yeah, this was I attended the roundtable, it was really helpful. And I was like, oh great, thanks. And so
that's way cool.
That was really cool. Also getting to go to like the speaker party and all that sort of jazz that you get with being a speaker is kind of nice. Being able to have a room that you can go into in the morning and have a bagel and a coffee for free and just chill. So great.
I was supposed to have my first time as a speaker in 2020, and I have not gotten the chance to go back, and I'm just looking at the speaker parties on the outside like sad Doctor Who meme. Sorry, Fiona's been rewatching Doctor Who. It's very much on the brain.
I see.
But no, so that sounds fucking cool. All right. So Damien, thank you so much for your time. I'm just going to plug your games one more time. Friends, check out the titles of these, because Damien's penchant for visual novel length titles is iconic. And also, Damien Crawford's Golfing Experience is a turn-based 3D golf game made an RPG Maker that is uniquely sadistic.
It was really funny telling people that, because people would ask, "Oh, what are you working on?" I'd say, "Oh yeah, I'm working on a first-person 3D golf game made in RPG Maker." And half the time they would go, "How?" I'm like, yeah, it's what I do. I remember very well the advice the performance
well, immediately, also why?
Yeah. There was Marina Abramovic who gave the advice in an interview that she got from an art teacher of hers. Yeah. Whenever you get comfortable drawing with your right hand to where it seems effortless, immediately switch to the left hand. You take your tools, you take your experience, you take all of that, but you have to change it. You have to still challenge that. And so making a golf game is very much how far can I push things in an engine that was absolutely never supposed to do this? So,
yeah. I will say that not so much like a riding of a coattails, but more like I love describing your games to people, because you can see the point where their brain does like a little reset, like they're following, and there's this moment where they go, "Wait, what?" And it's brilliant. Because throughout GDC, you hear 1,000 pitches from 1,000 people, and eventually the patter seems to blur into music. But when I tell people about your games, and they go, "Wait, fucking what?"
Yeah, it's making people take that double take. It's like, okay, this was worth it for that reaction at the very least.
So friends, do go check out the Cannibal interactive parts. So, Damien, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to plonk you back in the green room and chat with these lovely Mother Hubbards before we start bringing our adventures to a close. But, mate, it was also fucking good to see you, friend.
Yeah, it was good for the little while we got.
Yeah. May you
no hummus or Turkish coffee this time, but maybe next time.
Yeah. Well, I was so broken that night, so... so broken. All right, friend. Yeah. Have a lovely rest of your day.
You too. Take it easy.
Bye. Okay, friends. So, to Tuma Boy and people who threw in some follows, Storm Hughes and everybody, thank you, Watto, and welcome. Hello. No! Dabbinst not! We have had professionals, legends, GDC first-timers, and bitter vets. We've gotten through this whole fucking day without me having to make a fucking tit of myself. I managed to not cry earlier. Do you know, when Dustin threw in like a huge donation, do you know how much I had to not cry there? Got through this whole day and Verdant Flow's like, "Ah, I see. Wouldn't be ashamed if something happened to that." Anyway, while I stand to make an ass of myself, like seriously friends, I hope all of that was super, super useful. I want to tell you a few little bit more of my stories, and if you have any questions, because I know there was some, now is the time to ask. However, fucking bastards. See, even the guinea pigs are heckling me now. Look what you started. Babies, don't bully me. I hate this. I don't want Aperture! Bastard. You were kind enough to wait until the interviews were over. But yeah, I hope you all got like a good perspective of how this GDC was and where everybody was coming from. I will say that the one perspective that I couldn't get, and I don't think anyone could, was what things looks like from the publishing and investing side. Because I will tell you this, I saw no one. Most of the money people were just hiding. And I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if it was just to avoid being perceived, or because, you know, you're all aware of the old business adage that power doesn't travel. I am very curious as to the whys, but all the info about a lot of the available publishing deals and stuff like that did come out, so that was cool. And I think that was kind of like a lot of my big takeaways. The actual value of GDC and being on the show floor, I think, was a lot less this year. And I know a few friends mentioned they got Zerg-waved by students in the first day and change. But again, that could have been because for a lot of those individuals, the teams, the people that we interact with here on the Longship are predominantly based in the gardens. So, yeah. I guess I'm just echoing a lot of what, you know, Xalavier and Peeps said, that it is a hopeful time. And from what I said at the beginning of the show, is we've really got to start, I wouldn't say ignoring social media, but social media right now is not an accurate vibe check. Oh, and PVS, I did say you asking, wait, did you just ask Damien to rate the vibes, as in a vibe rater? Wasn't my intention. I wish I'd made that joke on purpose. So yeah, I think a lot of this is seriously valuable, and to all of your good selves, I hope there was a cavalcade of interesting information. To those of you on the VODs, congrats for making it through. What a day. Fucking hell. So yeah, I'm glad I got to show you all my view of the GDC Scream as well. Oh, Jeffrey, I'm glad you had a good time. Okay, so any thoughts, feels, or questions? Because I'll be doing thank yous in the ilk in just a second. And Dustin, yes, you did almost make me cry. I mean, I got the wind knocked out of me at the start. I was determined to be professional today, and I almost succeeded. So yeah, if you've got any questions about GDC, industry questions, now is the time to ask. If I didn't give you a proper greeting when you came in, watto and welcome. Xalavier described you all as Viking ninjas, or ninja Vikings, whichever you prefer. I quite like that, because that's kind of fucking cool. The hidden village of the Longship sounds kind of rad. Pacific Drive, rearview mirror's edge! I'm gonna just quickly pop that in the Longship chat. Yeah, I'm saving that for Thursday. We haven't really talked about the game news today, but I didn't see anything that we absolutely desperately had to talk about. Nothing has leapt forward that I feel we absolutely have to jump on. Although, I guess that if you didn't see, so Tales of Iron 2 Whiskers of Winter got announced. So we will be able to continue with that series. I'm fucking stoked. Things are bad at Blizzard, as it leaked out that none of the devs working on Overwatch got any performance bonuses from Overwatch 2, which is fucking brutal. I will be interested to see what Microsoft does with Overwatch, because it's not looking good. Oh, and anything vaguely related to Switch emulation is getting crushed at the moment. In the same way, in film and television, you don't fuck with the mouse. In video games, you don't fuck with Pikachu. Do not fuck with Pikachu. But this has been a long known thing. It's like Nintendo are very defensive of their IPs. But those were the only things that these are the only things that kind of like popped up on my feed. There's a collectible there's a collector's edition for the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Oh, and here was a weird one from yesterday. Jack Thompson was on an interview about something involving like the progression of like media and digital economies, where he even said that games are one of the greatest teaching tools ever invented. The man who tried to single-handedly destroy video games in the 2000s and 2010s, offhand saying nice things about video games. The world turns. I mean, Kaolu, I hope I do a good job translating it, and GDC is certainly a unique event. Like, it is unlike anything else. Oh yeah, no, Air Dragon, jumping back to the Overwatch 2 thing, that does show how little faith the team working on Overwatch 2 have that they'll be kept around. Because here's the thing, nobody talks about video game bonuses, right? Because one, users hate hearing about it. If it's even when it's a wildly popular game, but a lot of big AAA studios, they have a myriad of different ways of doing bonuses. They're usually tied up very much in the NDA of contracts, and they vary a lot. So like while I was at CA, we went through 3 different systems of how bonuses were handed out. And in one instance, I got danger pay. But ultimately, you don't want to be the one speaking to the press about that stuff, because it, gets out that you're talking about that one, and that's going to be some special hot water. But it's very interesting on those that this information is kind of like popping out. Okie dokie. Alright, so I don't see any off-the-chain questions or otherwise, so friends, I think this is a great place to bring our adventures to a close. I am going to do full credits because, like with the head librarian, who I sadly didn't get on the mic, but with loads of lovely people threw in bits, and y'all did enough to dent J-Post twice. Disco Graphite. Hi, Will. Bye, Will. It's alright. There'll be a VOD. There's a lot of really good information in this one, so I'm going to try and do this one chapter like how Skadi used to do. Okay, look. There's no capitalization, and I'm very dyslexic. I read it as Disco Graphite. Disco Graphette. Which I guess is Fem presenting in Microsoft Excel. It's good to see you. And this was a real good chat. So, like, friends, please, please, please stick around to the credits, because I'm sure there's a lovely person on Twitch I can play. Oh, feckin' Floydo's up. There we go. Jobs are good. Actually, shitloads of people are on. I guess everybody got back from fucking GDC. It's the great return. Oh no, we've got to go over to Floydo after this, because Floydo's playing Pokemon Gold. Hey Nick, it's Nayworry. Like, thank you again for your insight from earlier. So very quickly before I roll credits, here's what the rest of this week's gonna look like. Tomorrow, touch wood, if everything works, we'll be continuing with Elden Ring, and then on Thursday, Pacific Drive. Friday, Sea of Thieves, and Saturday, we're playing Hitman, because the Sean Bean elusive contract is back. And last time we fought him on stream, We killed him, but took ourselves out in the process. So I call that a draw. But then again, he is the Undying, so he might have made it away. So we are going back to take on the Sheen Bean Machine. I need my revenge. I don't dislike Sean Bean at all, but it's a question of personal pride. Again, I am going to be looking after the dogs and streaming Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's going to be a lot more breaks throughout the day. So please bear with me. I'm going to see if I can find something like one of those like Twitch extension games to keep you all entertained while I'm AFK. But there will be a lot of running up and down stairs. Yeah, I think that's the long and short of it. So yeah. Seriously, all of you though, it's so good to be back. I fucking missed you. Thank you for making my return from GDC a triumphant cavalcade of feelings. I'm amazed I held it together all day. Alright? I'm probably gonna have a little cry in the shower later. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But to that end, I need to say a very special thank you to the following people, because I know I said this before, but it really does warrant saying one more time, which is I held fucking survivor's guilt for this GDC because I'm able to do this, support my little family, and I'm able to work with teams. You know, I'm not doing as much like unpaid stuff as I'd like, but I'm hoping to do more as we go forward. And with Cosmic Crowbar keeping me on, like, I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. So that's predominantly thanks to you lot. You've kept me alive for 5. It will be 6 years. Actually in a week and change. So April 6th is Longship Day. That will be the 6th year that we have been operating. And, you know, we've outlasted Stadia, Artifact, we'll outlast Twitter. Like, we're doing good. We're doing good. So yeah, thank you all. I fucking thank you all. Oh, Lance, I do try, friend. I do try. Angela says, is it month 69 only cans time yet? No, I think we've still got a few more months before the uncomfortably sexy can stream, but it will happen for the 69th month. Promise you that. Okay, and to that end, friends, couldn't do this without you all. So seriously, thank you. Hopefully the credits aren't busted. Okay, so to my boy, Storm Hughes, thank you kindly for the follows, you absolute feckin' legends. To Scotty Doggy, the head... Oh, it fucking broke! Well, I mean, sorry, Scotty, Head Librarian Bacon, thank you. Fucking credits! Alright, so let's go back over it. So, how do I pop this out? Lol. Okay, so to all of you celebrating sub sprees, well, Solance, I don't actually know what happened because from my perspective, it just kind of hiccuped and then spat back, which shouldn't have killed it. But apparently, it must have been like an alert problem. Oh, there's so many of you did so much. The amount of you that threw in like, you know, 100 bits, 200 bits, Dustin with 50 fucking bucks, Harmonious threw in 50 bucks, like Lance threw in a 10, you fucking legend, and then like.
Stop that incessant clicking.
PBS gives a sub to thanks everyone. Good news, everyone. I mean, like, Ehrman declared war. We had a gigantic hype train. Technology has fucking failed me. Well, I was hoping because it didn't break on my side, it wouldn't break the credits, but it did. Look, friends, I will say the same thing that I've said a lot of times. I really, really hope that I do enough to be worth all the cash and time you put in. I really hope so, because, you know, these are difficult times and you'll look after us something fierce. So for that, bottom of my fucking heart, like, thank you all. Okay? Right. So, from one lovely Mother Hubbard to a more lovely Mother Hubbard, let's go hang out with Floydo. Floydo is currently, I assume, like, recording footage for something involving Pokemon, and is probably a few hours into OG Pokemon Gold, which was one of my personal favorites, because, I mean, it contains both games, and I got it slightly early because my stepdad got me what I would find out later was a semi-legal cartridge from Gibraltar, which had the whole ass game on it, but also had a bunch of swear words in, so fan translation, but you know. Well, Lance, seriously, thank you. Like, I know how much $1 is worth in 2024, so seriously, thank you. So yeah, I can't imagine you all don't know Floydo, but if not, I'm really happy that I'm gonna get to introduce you, cause it's gonna be rad. Right, friends, have a lovely rest of your day. If you see me in Discord later, come say hi, howdy, and yeah, happy surviving GDC. Here's to a games industry that wants to be here. All right. Fuck yeah. Onward! I always wonder how much of this is seen by like final mod watchers or otherwise.